What's going on? Welcome inside the vault on a Thursday. It's the 12th of February here in 2026. I'm Bobby Trossett, as always, joined alongside my co-host and partner, Sarah Ellison. If you guys could, on the way in, like the video, subscribe, hit that notification bell, consider becoming a channel member or gift-giving membership. We'll get to super chats, as always, if and when they come in. And Sarah, John Harbaugh made his latest media rounds, I would say, yesterday. He's done his fair share since becoming the next head coach of the New York Giants. Hard to believe that it's already been over a month since everything went down in Baltimore. It's been well over a month. It was January 6th when John Harbaugh was shown the door, and everything that's transpired since, including what we'll discuss on the back end of today's live stream, and that is the idea that Jesse Minter's staff, some of which has been reported, some of which has been confirmed by the team and is now officially on the website, has finalized his staff. So there's a lot to discuss as it relates to John kind of in testy, combative Monday afternoon press conference form, if you will, when it may be asked about his guard play, right? He was in rare form, and he did a variety of different hits yesterday with local media in the Baltimore area. So we're going to give some takeaways on that. We're going to get to his thoughts on his relationship with Lamar Jackson. And I think one thing you'll find, Sarah, in the clips that we've compiled is that he was in defiant form. So we've seen that before. We've seen it again now with his latest rounds, and we're going to get into all that more coming up over the course of the next hour.
Well, it's funny because he was in defiant form only at certain points. I listened to 3 different interviews with him, right? Like with Glenn Clark on WBAL, with Jerry and Mike Preston on the Be More podcast for the Baltimore Sun, and then also with Ryan Ripken. And like more generally, like he was cool. He came in, normal or whatever, but then when he gets certain questions or when he gets pushed, he's going to push back. And that's what he did. And I think maybe one of the most defiant parts was with Glenn Clark and discussing coaching hires, because obviously John's very proud to see what's happened to Mike McDonald. He started as an intern under John Harbaugh. He's very proud about Jesse Minter, who, rose up the ranks as an assistant coach before leaving and coming back. But then that leaves Zach Orr. What's going on with Zach Orr? And he had words to say about that. And I got to say, I thought Glenn Clark asked excellent questions.
Did you find Jesse and Mike to be knowing them both as well as you do?
Yeah, I thought they were both on the same track, same level, of all the things you're talking about, the emotional intelligence and just being good guys, smart guys, tough guys, demanding, hold people accountable, et cetera. All the great things that great coaches do, I saw in both those two guys. I remember people wanted to run Mike out. People didn't even want me to hire Mike when I first did it. People in Baltimore. You might have been on that train. I can't remember.
The Dolphins game was a little questionable, Joe. There were some things that we were saying.
So you're saying you were wrong, and I appreciate you saying you were wrong at the time
because
you were proven wrong. And that's okay, because that's a moment in time. And I was right. And I was proven right. And I was proven right about Jesse, too. And I'll stand by that because I know what a good coach looks like when I see it. And I'll be proven right about Zach Orr, too. You'll see. So I'm proud of all those guys. And those guys are great coaches in their own right. And they deserve the credit for it. But I'm also willing to say, you know what? I'm kind of proud of that. I'm pretty proud of that. I'm proud of those guys. And I'm proud of what they've accomplished.
Can I ask you about Zach as you brought him up, right? Because somebody would say, if that's the case, why isn't he your defensive coordinator in New York?
Sometimes it's time to change. And Zach and I have had those conversations, and we both felt it'd be best for him, best for him to go get the next opportunity to grow in a different way. So he gets a chance to grow in a different way. And I think it's going to be great for him to get a chance to do that, and it's going to be positive. So there's your answer to your criticism or whatever it might be.
Would that have been the case if you had stayed in Baltimore?
I don't know. I didn't stay in Baltimore, so it doesn't matter.
Bobby, you go first.
You see what I mean? You would have thought that it was a Monday afternoon at 2:30 and in the middle of the season and be impressed on his starting guard play.
Yeah.
He had a level of combativeness and testiness and defiance in the way that he handled that specific clip. Now, you've done a lot more listening. I've been trying to rest and get myself right here. You've listened to the majority of those hits that he did yesterday, and it wasn't all based on what you've shared in our pre-show meeting, it wasn't all in that tone, in that tenor. But that 90 seconds right there was with his chest puffed out, as if he's still got a lot on his mind, as if he's still keeping receipts. And there's a level of it to it, Sarah, that, look, we know how in tune he is, whether it's through his PR staff or what he reads and consumes during his time in Baltimore, with everything that's being said about his operation. He is extremely in tune with that. And it comes out there, and it's come out over the 18 years that he spent in Baltimore. And there is a level of victory lap that's attached to how he handled that right there. And there is a level of like, yeah, John, you know what? You were right. Early on, you were taking heat like this from your former assistant.
Question going into this game, would Greg Roman have the answers for their defense? He did. He passed it with flying colors. However, their defense, this new hotshot coordinator, is terrible. Well,
Mike Macdonald, one of his first opportunities, Sarah, to showcase himself. You got to go back to 2022. They got absolutely smacked by the Miami Dolphins in that game. And the defense, quite frankly, led by Mike Macdonald in what was one of his first opportunities as a play caller, did not look good. And Mike looked like a deer in the headlights at times. And so there is a level of like, you know what, John, you did see something in Mike. You did see something in Jesse, who now gets an opportunity to replace you. The jury's still out on Zach. And I know you're going to get in here in a second here to talk about the second part and the follow-up there from Glenn, which was a fair one and certainly is the elephant in the room. You went with Denard Wilson. Why isn't Zach with you? Why isn't he your play caller? Now, he refers to it as a growth opportunity and in a different chance to go in a different direction. That doesn't exactly fill in the puzzle piece for me, Sarah. I don't know about you. It was a fair follow-up. That answer didn't necessarily bring it all the way home for me, though.
Yeah, well, first of all, on John Harbaugh's tone, I don't have a problem with any of it. You know me, I like fire. Like, let's just we don't need to get personal. And he didn't. There's no need to get personal. But I like conviction. Okay, I appreciate conviction. I don't like it when people sit on the fence and just wait. You know what I mean? And like criticize and don't, and you know what I mean? Like, I don't mind his conviction, and I can see why he would want to stick his chest out and be like, I remember, Glenn Clark, because you guys were criticizing me, and I took it. I remember that my former defensive coordinator, who knows Mike Macdonald, and that he called him a hot shot coordinator, probably sticking up for Wink Martindale, right? Because Wink Martindale had been let go, and Mike Mack came in, and so and now you see Jesse Minter becoming a head coach. You see Mike Macdonald winning a Super Bowl. I don't mind that he has conviction to say, hey, when people like you, Glenn, or people like Rex Ryan, like you guys were criticizing me, and look at Mike Macdonald now. Look at him now. Like, I stood by him, and he just hoisted a Lombardi trophy. And he wants to be proven right with Jesse Minter, and he wants to be proven right with Zach Orr. So I don't have a problem with the tone, and I don't have a problem that he still believes in Zach Orr. However, while he was right in giving Minter and Macdonald the opportunities that he gave to them, even if Zach Orr becomes a great coordinator again, the fact remains that Harbaugh got the timing wrong. Zach wasn't ready, and the defense did take a step back, and he doesn't want to admit that. And I'm sure, and I really hope that someday Zach Orr bounces back and becomes a great coordinator that John Harbaugh thinks that he can be. I really do, because we all love Zach Orr. What's not to like about him as a human being? He's inspiring. That being said, John Harbaugh got the timing right with Mike Macdonald. Hopefully the Ravens have the timing right with Jesse Minter as the head coach. But John Harbaugh did not have the timing right with Zach Orr. And if he did get that one right, maybe John Harbaugh would still be here today. Maybe he would. So when Glenn Clark pushes back and says, well, if he's going to be a great coordinator and you stand by that, why isn't he in New York? And he's like, oh, the timing. That's the point. That's the point. The timing wasn't right, and you were wrong on that one. You were right on Macdonald. It's okay. We can say two things at once. You're not always right, and you're not always wrong. And I know it stinks to sit here and take criticism when you think you're right, and you have to be convicted. You have to have conviction because everybody is criticizing you. But also you got to be able to see the results, and you got to say, okay, Yeah, the timing's not right here in New York. And you know what? It wasn't right in Baltimore, but I still believe that Zio was going to take off.
You know what's funny, Sarah? You and I are always so very quick to point out something that we don't think, maybe from a local standpoint, that John Harbaugh deserves enough credit for. And that's the staff that he cultivates, his eye for talent, his eye for potential, his eye for creating a staff. Do you always bat 1,000 in that department? No, you don't. Just like every other aspect. And I think that's what you're alluding to. And so, hey, was Zach a miss in the early going? Yes. There's a multitude of reasons as to why. Will he become a hit? The guy's 33 years old. He could be a hit, and who knows what his career is going to pan out to be over the next decade, over the next handful of years. We don't even know where he's going to end up in the coming months, coming weeks. But we know as of right now, this hiring cycle froze him out from giving him an opportunity at a second crack at it in the here and now as a play caller. And that's telling. Whether that's more about the optics that went into that potential decision by any coordinator needy team, or if it's more about who they just feel like it's a premature type candidate right now that he needs more time, it's beside the point. John didn't get that right.
No, he didn't. And I do want to draw a distinction here because this can easily, okay, so John Harbaugh's criticism is like, he takes the credit when it's going right? But when it's going wrong, he doesn't take as much accountability. I'm reminded of a famous quote from The Office with Michael Scott. And he goes to his boss, he goes, listen, David, I'm going to be honest. I want all the credit when things go well, and I want none of the blame when things are bad. Like, he just straight up says it to his boss. And sometimes that's the way, Harbaugh comes across. But I do want to say this. Either you're allowed to criticize him for getting the Zach Orr pick wrong. You're allowed to criticize him for that. And if you are, then you do have to give him credit for giving opportunities for Jesse and Mike McDonald. That's not to say that he made those guys. Obviously, they left him and still went on and flourished. But then you can't take away the credit for giving them opportunities and then criticize him for Zach. So does that make sense? Like, I'm seeing people in the chat being like, oh, he shouldn't take credit for those two guys. I don't he shouldn't take credit for everything they are. And he didn't. I think he said, like, it's them. Like, they're the ones. I just had an eye for it and I gave him the opportunity. And so it's not that he can take all the credit for Mike Mack or Jesse because they're their own people and they worked hard and they worked the butts off and they have their own minds. But he can take credit for giving them the opportunity because there's a million people that wants those jobs. There's a million people and there's only so many of them. There's only 64 defensive coordinators. There's only 64 offensive coordinators, 32, excuse me. And so you have to be consistent. Either you do criticize him for wrongfully giving Zach Orr the opportunity at the wrong time and give him credit for giving the other guys opportunities, or you can't criticize him for Zach Orr either because it's Zach Orr who failed on his own. But I think it's the decisions to put them in those spots that you can give credit or criticize, not that he can take all the credit for who they've become or take all the blame for who Zach Orr has become.
Yeah, in other words, the guy was deserving of taking another swing when it came to Zach. Mm-hmm. Because the other swings and what have you done for me lately and the eye that he had for talent and potential and staff structure and up-and-coming names worked. So why wouldn't he have felt like he wanted to take a swing and let some other maybe more safer options leave for other opportunities? And we know who those guys were. One of them's back in the building a couple years later.
That's what I think happened with Zach. I think he got emboldened with Zach because of Mike Mack. That's what I think, that he got a little bit too confident there. Because
they were all in the building, and it all stems from what you and I have covered in recent days, recent weeks, from the overhaul that happened in 2018, 2019, right around there. Rick Minter did a great job of walking us down memory lane on the Fan earlier this week about how it was Wink and Harbaugh that kind of, met in their meeting of the minds at the table and then divvied up the roles and responsibilities to try and get back to that, or at least reinvigorate themselves and their unit with some young up-and-coming minds like a Jesse, like a Mike, and then they ended up kind of working on specific, more niche positional rooms, right? Like between linebackers or defensive backs or everything under the sun. And I get it. I do. I understand why he would feel defiant or confident, or that was something that, hey, why wouldn't I continue this streak, this trend that I'm on right now? I'm feeling hot at the plate. I'm going to take a swing. And it was a swing and a miss in the here and now. And I think, you've done a good job of explaining why two things can be true as it relates to the evaluation of John as a hiring manager when it comes to these three names that we now know are in different stops throughout their career. You got two head coaches, one of which, to your point, just became a Super Bowl champion through 2 years. And you've got another outside of Jesse and Zach who's looking for work. So we'll see how long that ends up becoming.
Meanwhile, let's kind of flip this over. We know from Steve Bisciotti in reporting that there were a couple things that Steve Bisciotti said that we never really heard John's reaction to. So Steve Bisciotti, as we all heard, called John and fired him over the phone instead of, doing it face to face. There was the comment during the press conference if Tyler Loop had made that kick, would he still be your coach? And Steve Bisciotti said, for a week, looking at him, he's just so steady and calm, and a few other things. So John was asked about that on the Be More podcast with Jerry Coleman and Mike Preston.
How I felt about when Steve called, it was tough. I mean, it hurts, like you said, it hits you hard, but and you realize it's coming to an end. But I understood. I could see why he made the choice that he made. And I see what a great hire he made with Jesse. I feel like, I owe Steve a lot. I owe him so much. I owe him a career. I would never, who's taking a chance on me back then? Only Steve Bisciotti. I didn't care if it was on the phone or in person. It didn't matter. It's we've had enough conversations in person, on the phone, every other kind of way. So it was just more about just hearing from him and what he felt and what he thought. And we actually had a follow-up conversation that Thursday, 2 days later, where he called in the morning, and I couldn't get back to him for a couple hours because I was on the phone a lot, and he was very gracious, and he kind of took me in depth a little bit deeper with his thinking, which I appreciated. It wasn't anything surprising. It was just understandable. So by that time I was ready to, just see what was next. So it's all been, in my book, it's all been good. It's all been fine. I'm not saying I'm not saying I didn't want to stay, because I did.
The biggest jaw dropper for me, though, and usually I'm not surprised during these press conferences, but I asked Steve, had Tyler Loop made that field goal, what would have happened? And he said, you still would have been gone. I didn't understand that. What if you won the football game? That didn't make sense to me. So I guess his mind was made up before that kick.
Yeah, I don't know. It's probably just a tough question to answer. For what I'm not going to really, I can't say, maybe we win the next game, maybe we win all 4 games, maybe we win 4 games in a row. That could have happened. That should have been your follow-up question, Jerry. That would have been a great follow-up question.
I was so shocked by his comment. I didn't have, my jaw was on the floor. Like, really? You were going to fire the guy if you won the game?
Yeah. My point is that, it's just, I don't know. It's just, it doesn't matter, really. It's probably the answer to the question. It really doesn't matter. It just, what happened, and what needed to be done. And the opinion of Steve, was what was done. So it's cool. If we'd have won 4 games and won the Super Bowl after that, I'm pretty sure I'd still be there right now. I don't know. That'd be my guess. But it didn't happen that way, so it doesn't matter.
Okay, so a few things there. He's got no problem with it being done over the phone. John's not. We just saw the fire in him in the clip before. He's not going to get caught up in that kind of stuff. He doesn't, he's fine with that. He's fine with Steve letting him go. He would have preferred to stay. He didn't want to leave. He made that clear. I would have preferred to stay. But the part about 1 more week, it's funny because John said this on a few different programs that he just said to Jerry, but I pulled the one with Jerry because Jerry's the one who actually asked the question. He wanted reporters to follow up. He wanted to be like, okay, well, what if he won the next game? What if he won the next game? What if he won the next game? And I think John's right. If John went all the way and won the Super Bowl, he'd still be here. If he had a different defensive coordinator, to our point of the last segment, he probably still would have been here. But so his takeaway is that, it didn't matter because it didn't happen. My takeaway is that Steve knew they weren't going to go to the Super Bowl. He saw the makings of it. He didn't have false hope or false optimism. He saw the writing on the wall. He saw it. Yeah, for 1 more week, because he doesn't think he would have continued on. He saw what was happening this last year and how they were playing and how they were banged up and what's happened before in the playoffs. So, yeah, I mean, shoot, I guess if some miracles had happened and he went all the way to the Super Bowl, he's right. He probably would still be here. But I think Steve knew that wasn't going to happen.
What else we got from that?
Let me see here. We've got a lot. Let's get a couple here. Then we'll do some super chats and we'll do some stuff with Lamar. But before we get there, remember when he sent out the, let's see here, not that one. He sent out the this one. He's thanking the city of Baltimore and the flock, and then he forgot to mention Eric DeCosta. And in his tweet, remember he first did a tweet. And he didn't thank the fans, and nor Eric DeCosta. Then he took time and took out an ad in the Baltimore Sun thanking everybody, but again left out EDC. So Jerry asked him, like, what's the deal with EDC? Are you guys good?
You start mentioning names, and it's like, I felt like you say the owner, everybody else knows they're a part of that, and Eric DeCosta, I mean, we're like this, we are friends, and we're very close. We talk to each other every day for the last, since he was a GM, every day, and before that, pretty much every day. We are really, really close. We've been talking ever since about things, life, and about things that was going on with the two teams and stuff like that. And even the coaching things, we're both trying to get coaches or whatever. I mean, that's all part of it. We're too close. I thank Eric DeCosta for what a great job he did every single day, for what a great friend he was, for what a great competitor he was, how smart he was, the decisions he made. I totally am forever grateful. Anything else is much ado about nothing, for sure. So there it is. That's how I feel about Eric. Love his family. Lacey, the kids are amazing. Yeah. Love his dogs. They're right next door. They play with my dog,
Okay, Bobby, do I believe that he and EDC are good? Yes, I do. These guys are competitors. They don't take things personal. Like, do I think they're good? Yes. But when he gave the explanation, when you start mentioning names, but this isn't like you having to name your whole staff. It's the general manager. You did name the former general manager, Ozzie Newsome, and he's your neighbor, and you work with him every single day. You talk with him every single day. We're not asking you to go down the whole list of every single assistant coach and every single player and da-da-da-da. But most people do mention the general manager because he is a figurehead. So again, he said in there, he mentioned really briefly, are me and Eric kind of fighting over players? Maybe they were fighting over coaches too, things like that. So do I think they're competitors right now? And they've turned into competitors, just like he's turned into a competitor against his brother before when they play. And I've seen him and his brother go at it for sure. And none of it's personal. It's out of competitive fire. But that was just funny to me that he's like, you start mentioning names. Oh, you mean you didn't want to start with the general manager, the figurehead of the Ravens? I think that, okay, whatever. But whatever, you guys are good, so no big deal.
Well, let's be honest. Competition can sometimes be cutthroat.
Mm-hmm.
So even if it's in good spirited fashion, it can still be cutthroat. And I'm with you. I believe him too. He's going to have a lot of love and admiration and appreciation for Eric and his wonderful family and the neighborhood dynamic that they've had for multiple decades. But it doesn't mean that competition doesn't become cutthroat, especially with this unique circumstance that they now find themselves in. And look, I'm not oblivious to the idea that Steve Bisciotti made it pretty darn clear during one of his press conferences last month that Eric had an inkling that this was coming weeks prior to the actual decision being made. That's awkward. That's tough for Eric. You knew that at some point, this dynamic that included a neighborhood type of relation of dynamic, best friends, interwoven for decades, was going to have to end in some weird, awkward fashion if they didn't reach the mountaintop and ride off into the sunset. And that's what happened. They didn't do that. And so the fact that Steve said that Eric, their conversations were being had weeks prior, that puts Eric in a pretty darn difficult business versus personal relationship situation. So, yeah, I'm sure feelings were, I don't know about hurt, but challenged and tested throughout that time.
Temporarily super competitive, probably especially during the time that he's putting out that note. So, Bobby, I only have
you just mentioned it too, not to cut you off. You mentioned it already.
Yeah.
Not only is the fight for, and it's been ongoing for staff members, as these guys are trying to, in Baltimore's case, retain people like Santucci they want to keep in the building.
Mm-hmm.
And in the Giants' case, for Harbaugh.
Or Randy Brown, by the way. John, I didn't pull it, but he talked about Randy and how it was hard to split up with him.
That he did. He's been by his side since 2008.
Yeah.
They've won a lot of games together. They got a comfort level and a trust level that spans years and years and years.
And he didn't get Todd Monken. He wanted Todd.
Correct.
Yeah.
And guess what? This is just the first chapter of what's about to. There's going to be multiple chapters that unfold over the next couple months. Free agency, the draft.
Oh, I'm sure.
I'm kind of upset they're not going to play each other for multiple years in the regular season unless they meet in LA at SoFi in February of 2027.
Speaking of that, he did say that, like, he goes, I won't deny that at least a small factor of choosing the Giants meant that he wasn't going to face the Ravens very often, or his brother. He said his brother, when he called his brother, he's like, go to the NFC. Stop talking to the Raiders. He's like, do not go to the Raiders, because then they would have been in the division against each other. And so he's like, listen, the real reason why I chose the Giants is more because of the opportunity. He goes, but I'd be lying if I said it didn't play a factor that, like, I'm not going to be in the AFC anymore, both for his brother and the Ravens.
Makes sense.
So there's that. Okay, real quick. I have two more clips. We'll do one before Super Chats, and we'll save the other one after Super Chats. Just real quick. This is him on the Glenn Clark Show again, talking about how happy he is for Jesse Minter.
Jesse Minter, I've known him since he was 10, 11 years old.
Excuse me. This is the Ryan Ripken Show. Sorry, there's so many different interviews he was on. Ryan Ripken, wanted to give him his credit.
For 3 years, he followed me around like every day. I feel like, he was like attached to the hip, but he was a coach's kid. Like Jim and I did the same thing with our dad, because I coached for his dad in Cincinnati, and he was there every day. And then when I left and went to Indiana, the guy that took my job was Mike Tomlin, so he was with Mike Tomlin for another year. Mike was there for a year, then he went to the NFL. And I was at Indiana for a year and went to the NFL. So it was just like, man, this kid, it's in his DNA, and not just that, but he's smart. He works hard. He's got great people skills. He's had success. Went to Vanderbilt, went to Michigan, out to the Chargers with my brother. He's done great, and he's so ready. And I don't know. I really like the hire. I just think I understand the hire. There's a lot of speculation. Okay, what direction do they go? And I was following it. I'm interested, of course. And they bring in Jesse. I'm like, okay, I get it. Now the Ravens are still the Ravens in a lot of ways, and all the things that were built stand probably. And I think Jesse will put his stamp on it. His personality, everything he does. It'll be Jesse Minter running the show, and he'll do a great job. And yet the values and principles go back through his time in Baltimore, Michigan, Baltimore, Chargers, and then back all the way to his dad, in Cincinnati, and following a couple coaches around that became head coaches in this league. It's crazy.
He seems happy that it's Jesse, like genuinely, partially because he has known Jesse since he was so young. Like he said, he knew him since he was 10 years old because John was on his dad's staff at Cincinnati. So I'm sure from that point of view, he's genuinely happy for him. And I think he's happy that the Ravens got almost another version of him. We've talked about that, right? That he comes up with like football royalty. His dad's a college football coach. He grew up in locker rooms the way John did. And he's got principles that he learned from his dad that John also learned from him. But then Jesse also learned from John and Jim. And so I think he's like a little bit happy and relieved to be like, okay, the Ravens still liked a lot of what I brought in, which is why they brought in a guy that I helped, mentor and bring up through the ranks.
Yeah, it's crazy that some of the overlap, and whether it be Cincinnati or even I spent some time yesterday kind of putting the interconnections into quadrants, the way that Jesse's put his staff together. And like, there's a Falcons quadrant that all stems from like the Dwayne Ledford program that he's been running from an offensive line standpoint. There's the Chargers over the last couple of years that Jesse, of course, stems from and is slightly plucking from. Slightly. We know that Jim and Joe weren't going to let him bring everyone. And then you've got the collegiate quadrant that you and I have commented on in recent days with They may not all be directly tied into Jesse, but there is several collegiate guys that he's taken a chance on that he may or may not have direct ties to that he's given a chance from a positional coach standpoint. And then the other quadrant to complete the 4 is Sean Payton's Denver Broncos. That's become somewhat of a quadrant. So just when you thought that he was kind of going in a bunch of different directions, there are kind of 4 that he's mainly gone into. And it spans, I get it, it spans a good portion of the country, multiple different levels of the game. But it's been pretty cool to see it all unfold over the last several weeks since we first learned of this. Appreciate you guys for being with us on this Thursday. Over 1,100 concurrents and counting. If you could, like the video on the way in, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, consider becoming a channel member or gift-giving membership this offseason. We're going to get some super chats right now. I just noticed that someone was going to bat for us and noticing that there's over 900 concurrents in the YouTube space with just over 100 likes. That's kind of imbalanced. So if you guys could like the video, we appreciate it. It'll shoot it out different algorithms and help more people learn about what it is that we're doing here inside the vault. Devin Jean-Pierre, our guy, DJP. It's been a minute, and he's become and re-upped, I would think, his channel membership to official VAULTRON status. We appreciate you, Devin. Hopefully fatherhood, you're enjoying it. And that brings us to Oceans 08, Sarah.
He says, if John loves Zio so much, he would have hired him. Agreed. Or if he believed in him so much, I'm sure he loves him. And real quick, I didn't say that John Harbaugh was happy to be fired, just to clear up some of the chat. I said he was happy for Jesse. He clearly said in the clip that I played earlier that he wished he didn't get fired. He wanted to stay here. But what's done is done. For the next coach, he's happy for Jesse. I never said he was happy to be fired. Come on, don't put words in our mouths.
I wonder who. Let's see. What is this? Babin's mom? I haven't seen this one before, but Bab, appreciate you for being with us. The same time that Harbs was being fired, my 4th grandson was being born. Congratulations.
Wow.
To you and your family. 4 grandsons in. That's pretty cool. You guys got a boy trend going on, huh?
Grandson. So like 18 years old and with older grandchildren, they're probably in their 20s. Good for you.
Wow. Wait, so the same time Harbs was being fired, my 4th grandson was being born.
Oh, I thought he said hired. Okay,
yeah.
fired. Okay.
But unclear about how old the other ones are. BB and CFP Productions says, for me personally, there was no chance of making a playoff run after the first Steelers game. There was no gel/spirit in that team. Jake Asman, Jets YouTuber, is in the house.
Lamar,
and he's here to build you up.
Well, I appreciate that. Before he does, I'm going to build up Lamar. Lamar had them winning that game. He willed it in that 4th quarter. There wasn't a lot of spirit. There wasn't a lot of gel, but Lamar had it. Tyler Loop. Dang it. Okay.
Well, they're referring to the first. I don't know if that's what you're just talking about.
Right. Well, he's just saying there was no gel or spirit. But that second Steelers game after the first one, but I'm just saying there wasn't a lot of gel or spirit, but Lamar almost willed them to it anyway. That's the crazy part.
Yeah. You're commenting on the last part of the super chat. I got you. Jake says, Sarah and Pink is changing the game, folks. Let's go.
Yeah, I told you guys Valentine's Day week I was going to be in either pink or red all week.
This guy, man, I'm telling you, less than 2 weeks time, I'm back at it in Indianapolis with this guy. There's no shortage of entertainment when you're traveling with him. Let me tell you. I want to know
where your and Jake's pink is at. Let's go. If I'm changing the game, follow suit.
Let's go. Look at him. He's in green. Shockingly, he's in green in his profile photo there with a crisp hairline, I might add. He and I are both Bosley people. Zach writes, I still can't believe John tried to call a timeout at the 2-minute warning during the Ravens versus Lions game. Also, he got flagged in the Bills game for calling back-to-back timeouts. Glad he's gone. And Sarah, that speaks to, look, when Daniel Stern walks out the building, and he was known as the game management guy, the analytical guy, clock management guy, and in comes Charlie Gelman to serve that similar role and rejoin the organization, who had been an assistant within John's operation years prior. He just spent the last several years in Indianapolis. That's a key role that he's going to be walking into here with a first-year head coach. That's nothing against Jesse, But until the bullets start flying and he's multitasking on game day for the first time ever as a defensive play caller, which he's done the last couple of years, but while also assuming the role and responsibilities that come with the unpredictable nature as a head coach, it's going to be an important role. We got to get to know Charlie Gelman, who's the game manager. That's his role moving forward.
Well said.
Live B for you.
Says on Wednesdays, we wear pink, not Thursdays. Hashtag mean girls.
The one-liner. Live B, celebrating 9 months of channel membership with us. Appreciate you, Liv.
Was going to be such a discussion today.
I was going to say,
you're
like really setting it off.
For me, I wear pink here and there, even on non-Valentine's Day weeks.
You're really setting things off this week, aren't you?
I think it's because the turtleneck is with it, you know.
Maybe. Appreciate you, Liv, and appreciate everybody for being with us on this Thursday. Where to next, partner?
Okay, last clip from this. We started with the bang with the stuff about Zach Orr and the coaching. I think we're going to end with the bang when he talks about Lamar Jackson. So he was asked about, the relationship they had together and also the Wednesday practices and all that. And he didn't, that Lamar didn't practice while he was injured, and he didn't really have anything to say about that. But it's kind of funny, Bobby, in the clip in the beginning that we played where he got more and more kind of fired up, it was because Glenn Clark was kind of pushing back. On this one, I'm just going to let it kind of run a little bit. I do cut out a little bit, but I mostly let it run where he gets himself fired up about talking about Lamar Jackson. There's going to be a lot of interesting points in here. There's also a lot of credit taken. He's doing some more victory laps. So here we go. He kind of has a rant. He's going to go off a little bit on Lamar Jackson.
I've said before many times, I think Lamar gave it everything he had, always, and he always competed. He always fought. He always wanted to be the best he could be. He and I always had a great relationship. I never felt like we didn't. I felt like he was honest with me at all times. There were things that when he had issues with stuff, he would tell me. As far as I know, if he had issues that he didn't tell me, I don't know because he didn't tell me. But I never had that feeling that he and I weren't talking about something. I always felt like he always told me. I could read him pretty good. I could ask him, "Hey man, what's up?" And he would tell me what's up, and I just feel a great sense of accomplishment and pride for what we accomplished. I feel disappointment. We come a play short in the championship game. We come a couple plays short in the divisional game the next year. Last year we start off 1-5. We fight our way back. I don't have any. I don't feel bad about any of those things. I don't feel like we underachieved. I don't feel like we came up short. I felt like we did our best. And one team wins the whole thing. The ball didn't go our way. Maybe we didn't make a play here or there. Maybe we could have made a better decision there. But that's what you're going to be. You're going to be in fights. You're going to get hit, and you're going to bleed, and you're going to have scars. And that's just the way it's going to be. That's going to happen. It's how you respond. And I feel like we always responded. We took a Lamar Jackson, a guy who I loved from the beginning and wanted from the first day that I saw him, and said it in the draft meetings along with all the other people, Ozzie and everybody else. We all wanted him. But it came down to me. It was my decision. And I said, I want him. Can you build an offense around him? Yes, we will build an offense around this quarterback, even though everybody else say you can't do it. Oh, they wanted to say he's not even a quarterback, okay? We laughed at that. We didn't believe it. We said he's a quarterback, and we're going to make him a successful quarterback, like maybe the most successful quarterback. I've told Lamar before, someday I want people to say that he's the best that ever played the game. That's still in the work in progress, and I believe it's going to happen. But I feel like we did everything we could collectively, including Lamar, to make that happen as best we could. We built an offense in 2019 that everybody said couldn't happen. We called it a revolutionary offense, and it was. Watch football today. It's not played the same way it was before 2019. Offensive football has changed dramatically. Why? Because they saw what we did in Baltimore. That's a fact. Nobody can deny that. Anybody that knows football knows it's true. It's real, all right? And that's Lamar Jackson football. That's how we did it. And then 4 years later, it was time to evolve it and go to another different direction with it. And we did it. We built another offense around Lamar Jackson, a record-setting offense, okay? An offense that had never been accomplished before at that level, okay? We came up short and didn't win the Super Bowl, and I wanted to win the Super Bowl so bad because that puts the exclamation point on the whole thing, and we weren't able to do it. So is that a disappointment? Damn right it is. It's what we strive for and tried for. I still think it can be done with Lamar in Baltimore, and that's what they're going to try to do now. So that's what they should be doing, And but I don't apologize or regret any choice we made, any decision we made, anything we created. I'm proud of everything we created there, and I stand by it forever.
All right, Bobby, your first time hearing that one, right? What were
Yeah,
your initial thoughts?
Yeah, I'm okay with that, actually, to be honest with you. It's gonna be really interesting to see how he handles questions related to Jackson Dart's development. I think it's easier to get up there and say what he said a couple summers ago about what he just referenced there, that they're striving to have Lamar achieve and be recognized as the greatest quarterback who's ever lived. It's easier to say that when he's got a couple MVPs under his belt and he's established himself. Jackson obviously is just 1 year in, and it was a struggle, at least from a win-loss standpoint. I think he showed a lot of potential, but he can't stand on that ground yet, right? Because Jackson's not yet developed into this quarterback that Lamar clearly as a full-fledged multi-time MVP will be. So it'll be really interesting because he stood on it again right there. That's still the goal. Like he kind of alluded to it, that's still like the vision for Lamar Jackson. So it'll be really curious to see that as we kind of follow John from afar as he gets his tenure underway with the New York Giants. But hey, listen, I can't speak to the ultimate call that he's saying he had in what was a collaborative type of approach with Ozzie and Eric and Steve and everybody that was involved in that room that ultimately led them to trading back into the first round to use the 32nd overall pick on a quarterback that 31 other teams had passed that night. I have no idea. But it does seem standard that the head coach has one of the final says when it comes to what that room consists of, the power dynamic, the influence, and the final call. And I'm gonna choose to take him by his word there, Sarah. What about you?
Yeah, no, for sure. I think that when we talk about taking him by his word, do I think that he and Lamar had a good relationship? I do. Do I think that it was like, had a ton of chemistry and that they, what's the word? Just like maxed out what their relationship could have been. I don't know about that, So when he says, hey, if Lamar had an issue, I'd say, hey, what's up? And he would tell me. And so yeah, I believe all that, but that implies that sometimes there were issues, and that's normal, right? That's normal. You and I disagree with things as we create our show, and that's just normal. You have to be able to talk it out. You have to be able to do those types of things. And so, he just lets you know that, yeah, not everything was hunky-dory, but that doesn't mean that they had a bad relationship. I believe him on that. Does he love Lamar? I absolutely believe that he loves Lamar. I really do believe that. Does that mean that he did everything right with Lamar? No. And I think those two things can be true at once. I can't tell if he's saying with the drafts, right? Where he's obviously saying Ozzie and everybody, it was a collaborative effort. He's saying everybody wanted Lamar, but he ultimately had the decision, and they had to look at him and said, do you want him? And he said, yeah, I want him. I can build an offense around him. And so I don't know if he's saying that because so many people accuse him of saying, oh, well, that was Ozzie's pick and he made you take Lamar, and he's trying to say, no, I'm a part of that collaboration. I don't know if he's trying to take credit for it. I don't know which one. Maybe it's a little bit of both, where it's like, hey, give me some credit too, because ultimately it came down to me. And I said, yes, I want to build an offense around him. I believe we can. So I definitely don't think if John didn't want him that they would have forced Lamar on him anyway. So I do believe that he wanted Lamar and he liked Lamar. I do think he's right about the offense. He still goes with the revolutionary thing, and he went hard there, right? That's where he went the hardest. He goes, that's a fact. People change the way they play offense in the offense or in the NFL. There's no disputing it. It's just a fact. And he's coming out with his chest out on that again. Where he can be criticized, though, because he is right that they evolved again, is that it probably took a year or two too long. They should have been, even though they were so great in 2019, they probably should have been trying to move to more of a passing game incrementally. And instead, they went with that offense for too long. Then they had to fire Greg, bring in Monken, and then they did it all kind of at once. And so that's where I think he did fail a little bit, is that maybe they didn't evolve quick enough and soon enough. And so, yeah, but he simultaneously was saying it was disappointing not to win the Super Bowl. He said, was I disappointed? Dang right, I was disappointed. But on the other hand, he's like, I offer no apologies and I have no regrets. That doesn't jive with me. I'm actually a person that, I don't live in regret. I definitely don't. But I don't mind looking back and be like, I wish I did that differently. Like if
Yeah,
I
I
had
hear you
done
on
that, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I do.
like why
I do.
not have a regret here or there? Why not have a regret in the AFC Championship game? Todd Monken does.
Yeah.
Todd Monken was in an interview and said, "Oh, I wish I called that game differently." Like, it's okay to have some regrets. I hate it when people question their own decisions left and right. It's like, come on, you got to move forward. But also, you don't need to go the other extreme and be like, yeah, no regrets, but I'm also super disappointed. Like, it's okay to be like regretful here and there.
Yeah, not sure if that's in the Harbaugh DNA there.
Yeah.
As you know the family pretty darn well from your time, but they built a revolutionary offense in the regular season. It was not built to withstand the blows and shortcomings and significance of what they were seeing that forced them to be multidimensional, which they were not, to win in the postseason. They were a revolutionary, record-setting, inspirational offense in the regular season, and nobody was ready for it in 2019 and even in parts of 2020. And when they brought Todd in a couple years later in 23 and they rode that passing attack and an offense that could do it all, and most importantly, a top 3, top 2, top 1 defense, depending on the category that you were looking at, nobody was ready for them. But they weren't ready for postseason football dating all the way back to 2019. And yes, there were drops. Yes, there was ball security. Yes, there was those issues that put them behind the 8 ball. But you can't win one-dimensional offensive football. When you have a one-dimensional attack and your opponent is ready for that, like the Titans were in the divisional round, it's not going to get you past that round. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, and so if you wanted to pinpoint where he did fail Lamar and the team at large, not just Lamar, but the team at large, I think you hit it, like the postseason. And Steve Bisciotti talked about that. He talked about how like his star players weren't playing like they normally would in the regular season. And it wasn't just like it was players plural. So Steve Bisciotti mentioned that. So that is where John failed. It was like you needed to carry it over, and the entire team is part of that, but he's leading it. So that's where he failed. Number 2, he failed to build around Lamar Jackson a competent offensive line as the years went on. His best offensive line was in 2019, and they just couldn't. And you're not ever going to replace Yonda. I get that. They were better with Zeitler for a couple years, but that John and EDC failed to build that offensive line around Lamar. And then the last place where he failed Lamar, and again, Steve Bisciotti mentioned this, was those fourth quarter meltdowns. And so like he hired Z.O., but this was going on well before then. And it was just like, you have this quarterback that's putting up 30 plus points. That's leading your offense to 30 plus points per game. You shouldn't be losing those games. You shouldn't be. And we have a defensive standard. So whether it was Z.O. or under another coordinator, like that just continually happened. And so that's where he failed Lamar. The other stuff is still true. It was the next iteration of being revolutionary. Obviously, Michael Vick and some other running quarterbacks kind of built up to that point. John builds an offense to allow for Lamar's natural talent to come up there, and then he failed to evolve. So that's the last place where he kind of failed him. But he also did so much good by him. It's just that both of those things can be true at once.
Any other clips that we need to get to from that?
I think that's it.
Cool.
That's it.
Sounds good.
Let's see here. Where do we want to transition to? Okay.
Just
well,
kind
maybe
of
go ahead.
A whole row of staff hires that are kind of an extension of quick hits and a number of things, right?
Yep. So let's start with just some of the coaching hires. This one came in at the end of the show yesterday, but there's been some more to go with it. So if you weren't with us at the end of the show yesterday, it was Matt Zenitz of CBS Sports who broke the news that the Ravens were hiring Kiri Colbert as the wide receivers coach. So he was a former NFL wide receiver and was the Broncos wide receivers coach the last 3 seasons. Before that, he was a wide receivers coach at the college level, both at Florida and USC. And as Jonas Schaefer and Jeff Zrebeck pointed out, Colbert did have time with Jesse Minter in 2003 on the Georgia State staff, and also PJ Volker was there with them. And then Jeff Zrebeck pointed out that Declan Doyle was on Denver's offensive staff with Colbert for 2 years. So both Jesse Minter and Doyle had time with him. Then, as we noted yesterday, Zach Grossi, who's now the new tight ends coach, and Joe Lombardi were both over at the Broncos with Colbert within the last few years. So again, this is like everybody has some background with each other. They all have some experience with each other because you're going to want to bring in people that you trust and that you knows how you want to lead the offense.
Yeah, and I got to correct myself from yesterday because I steered you down the wrong pronunciation path. It's Kerry Colbert. I had that wrong yesterday. Like you said, former NFL wide receiver. He's worked with some talented players over the years, and now he comes to Baltimore. They're going to keep Prentice Gill, by the way, on staff as his assistant. He's already been with the organization in recent seasons. That's another hire that Matt Zenitz had. Worked in Baltimore the last 2 years under Harbaugh. He'll be Kerry's assistant receivers coach. So there's the Zenitz tweet from right there. And like to your point, again, I think I'm viewing it as quadrants. When you try to put, Jesse's staff in a vacuum and look at it from 1,000 feet up, you've got clearly a level of respect, whether it be through Declan or outside of Declan's experience, that stems from what Sean Payton has built in Denver. You've got the Chargers' familiarity, particularly Rick Minter, of course, coming to join his son yet again. You've got the Atlanta Falcons with Dwayne Ledford and several assistants that he's familiar with. And of course, now I'm forgetting what the fourth one is. But there's 4 quadrants. I mentioned them earlier on. And that's kind of the way that Jesse's chosen to go about this.
Yeah. Yeah. And then meanwhile, there was one other coaching signing. This news broken by Jeff Zrebeck. The Ravens are expected to bring in Ben. I don't know if I'm going to pronounce this right. Kotwicka? I don't know. Sorry. We'll just call him Ben for now. Okay. He's going to be a senior assistant on special teams. So he'll be helping out with Anthony Levine Sr. Ben is 51 years old. He was with the Rams as an interim special teams coordinator for part of the 2025 season. He's also been a special teams coordinator for the Commanders, Jets, Broncos, and Falcons. So he brings a load of experience. And this is what the Ravens are doing, both with Declan Doyle and Anthony Levine, who are first-time coordinators. They're bringing in uber experienced people to kind of be by their side. Lombardi will be there for Declan Doyle, and now Ben will be here for Anthony Levine. And also, Jesse has himself, even though he's already been a defensive play caller, but he's a first-time head coach, so he's got Anthony Weaver to help him with the defense. So in every single phase, you kind of have you have a first-time play person kind of in that position. And so they've made sure that they've got an experienced person to be right next to them to help them manage the new waves and inevitable obstacles that will come their way.
Yeah, no, Jesse has Anthony. Jesse has his father. Jesse has his best friend, PJ. I mean, he's got everybody on staff, but those are some of the names that, that pop off the page. And by the way, that fourth quadrant was the collegiate side of things that he's plucked from. Of course, I mean, we've talked about that ad nauseum, the Mike Mickens of the world from, Notre Dame and a number of others that, Harlan Bauer, for example, who is the outside linebackers coach, just spent his last several years in Duke. And that meant that he overlapped with Aeneas Peebles, a.k.a. Fub, who transferred to Virginia Tech from Duke. So there's some familiarity there. So these are just the latest hires, Sarah. Again, the majority of these have not been yet confirmed by the team. There's only so many of them that have made it to BaltimoreRavens.com. But based on reports combined with, confirmations, Jesse's pretty much at the tail end of weeks-long process here of putting that staff together.
And so far, the reports of who they've actually hired has been 100% accurate. So we're just waiting on the team to confirm it, probably get a name on a dotted line and all that. So I'm pretty confident that the reports are correct. So let's get to a super chat here before we go to quick hits. My Timbers shivered, Bobby, for you.
Let's see what Timbers got for us today. He says, John's a clown. I see he didn't bring up Roman, Tressman, Morningweg, Cameron, Pease, Madison, or Old Bloods, Guts trainer getting everyone hurt. John wants accountability, but never takes it. Some people are going to take this stance when he goes into defiant mode, Sarah. And I think a lot of that stems from his inability to get Lamar to the mountaintop over 8 years, right? So,
Yeah, and I think this is fair if we're going to evaluate all of his coaching hires, it's fair to bring them all up. I think some of these guys were already established, so maybe he doesn't see them as their guys. I mean, who knows? But he hired him and he gave him opportunities, and some of them were successful for a time, like Greg Roman. But man, I never understood the Morning Weg one. Ooh wee, that one was tough. But yeah, I think it's fair to bring up. I mean, if you're going to evaluate it, you got to look at all of them.
Look, he's sticking with his principles. He went with Matt Nagy, right? He's going to be the play caller in New York. So we'll see. And we'll see if Jesse's new wave of thinking, cutting edge to use his father's words, will that immediately pay dividends for them? We'll see.
We're going to find out. Here's another one from My Timber Shivered. He said, everyone who has been watching the Ravens knows you could fill a library with John's deficiencies, but we're not allowed to talk about it. What an arrogant blowhard, he called him. Tell us how you really feel, Timber.
So I'm genuinely curious about this. Timber, where does your frustration stem from? If you were to pinpoint one specific area, one specific shortcoming, one specific, to use your word, deficiency, what is it that has you looking at John in that kind of light? Or really, it's not light, in that kind of critical lens? I'm actually genuinely curious about that, because I'm sure he's not alone in that department. I know he's not alone in that department. But I'm curious, Timber. We got a couple more quick hits, so maybe you could. It doesn't have to be a super chat, by the way.
I'm also curious why, he says that nobody's allowed to talk about it. I feel like John's criticized plenty. Everybody's criticized him plenty here. It's just trying to give credit where credit's due and criticize where criticism's due.
Yeah.
But you might disagree where we give each of those. Yeah. Okay, a couple quick hits here. Some Ravens fans are not happy again with Marlon Humphrey. And it has everything to do with the fact that he posted on Instagram that he's in Washington, where Seattle won the Super Bowl, and he went to the parade there. There he is. There's a screen grab of his Instagram story. Has a picture there in downtown Seattle. Says 2 hours until the parade. I don't know if ML Football has this completely correct, that fans are calling for the team to release him after he posted this. I think they've been talking about this for a while. I'll just say this, Bobby. I couldn't care less that Marlon went out to Seattle and is at the parade. He worked with Mike Mack. He knows him. And even if he didn't, go to the parade. Now, yesterday, as we talked about, I would like to see Marlon Humphrey take a pay cut. If not, I don't see how you can keep him at the price that he's scheduled to be paid as a slot cornerback. So for that reason, if you don't like his play on the field and you would like him released, I get that. But this has zero weight for me on whether or not they keep or release him.
If it's ML Football, I typically keep scrolling. Who knows what the fan base is actually calling for? Obviously, there's frustrations with his play, with his podcast, with his availability or lack thereof, and everything you and I discussed at length yesterday, to your point.
Okay, but sorry, go ahead, Bobby.
No, all you.
No, I was just going to say, I thought we took I think we both settled on, right, that we would like to see Marlon take a pay cut. And if not, he would be an overpaid slot corner. We're on the same page with that?
Sure.
Okay. So, I thought we made that clear, and we did. But our guy, Q, he took it to another level when he was with Glenn Clark. Glenn Clark is getting some guys giving some passionate quotes. Here's Q on how he really feels about Marlon Humphrey.
Prioritizing figuring out a way to have Marlon Humphrey back on this team next year, Kadri, or is it maybe time for that divorce to happen?
Every time I think he's like, oh, yeah, I figured it out, or oh, I changed this, or it's the same old, same old. So what are we doing? Who's out there that can be better? I guess I'm still smarting over the fact that home game against Pittsburgh comes in here, can't throw it deep worth a lick, and doggone the Kalen freaking torches you multiple times. That to me is just the beginning of the end for what I saw with Marlon.
I've heard the argument that like he's the perfect example of someone that you want to have around Jesse Minter right now. That you don't write any of these guys off. That maybe we don't judge any of the defensive players, not to try to cast stones at Zach Orr, but to say maybe you take a look at them one more time with someone that you believe can be a difference maker as a coordinator and as a coach.
I'm yawning right now.
Okay.
You're trying to be too idealistic.
Okay.
Bye-bye. See you, Marlon.
Okay. Wow. All right.
Glenn Clark with the solid follow-up questions. Is he at more of these pressers? He's like, I've heard the argument. Hey, and I think Femi Amedeja was in our chat yesterday being like, oh, Marlon will be better under Minter. And I think he would be. But Q's like,
he's in here. Q's in here right now.
Are you Q?
Look at him in here right now. What'd you get pinged? Were your ears ringing there? Huh?
Q, he said I said what I said. Q, not even a little bit better? Is it the price tag, Q? Like, is it the price tag that makes you feel like, okay, even if he's a little bit better with Minter? Like when he said, I'm yawning over here when I hear that argument, I about died.
This guy cracks me up. At first, I thought I was listening to a voice memo from him. We'll go back and forth on occasion and just letting it rip. No, he's live on the air with Glenn.
I'm yawning right now.
Hey, I know he's
like,
not
we've
over
already
that
seen
Adam
it. And they showed the perfect clips over that where he was getting cooked left and right, Bobby. And he makes a good point. Bobby, Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers couldn't get a passing yard against the Browns. And then he makes the point that Marlo was getting cooked. I tell you, you got to have a pay cut.
I know he's not over that Adam Thielen rep, aren't you, Q? You haven't. I can't remember which one you referenced in that clip, but I don't believe it was the Adam Thielen across the middle that he had just been signed. Literally, he had just been signed, and it was a cast off. And Pittsburgh brings him in. What did Aaron refer to him as? I think he actually referred to a bunch of guys on the team as cast-offs. Wasn't that the word that he used? And then they asked if he referred to himself as that, and he's like, no.
That doesn't. Yes, I'm not one.
Well, Aaron, I don't know, man. I don't think Minnesota wanted you this offseason, and then you probably wanted to go there. That's probably the best team you would have been a part of. So.
That was funny. Okay.
Timber has answered my question in the form of multiple super chats, which I didn't ask for. You could have gone non-suit. You don't have to dump in super chats when we ask you for a follow-up. It's very
Unless
kind.
He'd like to, because these are all $10 super chats. Thank you, Timber.
It's very kind, and I'm not criticizing you for that. I just want to be clear on that. We never require super chat donations. We do welcome them. And my Timber Shivered says, you wouldn't say the choke a Cougar line, so what I have to say about John Harbaugh is significantly worse. But for starters, how about that an arrogant special teams coach tried to tell Ray how to act? Here he goes. He's about to go off right now. Look at this.
Okay,
We've got multiple of them. Remember, I asked him, what about John's deficiencies? What was it that has you running hot? And he's about to give a bunch of examples.
Okay.
That was number one. We could talk about his horrendous game management, his terrible lack of accountability on coaching decisions, and then throwing a tantrum when his feet are held to the fire. My Timber Shivered also writes, or we could talk about his infamous doghouse, his commitment to 77 when better people were on the roster, shaming the guy at the end of the bar who clearly knew more about the correct personnel. Why don't you take one here because he keeps ripping them.
Says, or maybe that he's a master of revisionist history. He'll tell you all his accomplishments like developing Lamar, but could not seem to get Joe Flacco over the hump. Well,
what do you mean?
They won a Super Bowl together.
He also writes, or we could talk about how every excuse in the world gets made for him. Not saying we've had perfect drafts all the time, but if we need all pros at every position to win, he can't coach. Lot of feelings being
There's a lot of good points
into
in there,
the
though.
chat.
I don't know about the Joe Flacco one because they did win a Super Bowl, but I think there were some fair points in there.
Shoe boy.
77's a good point.
I've got a quick hit for us.
What's your quick hit?
And thank you to my Timber Shivered, needless to say, for all of his generosity there. The guys at Yahoo Sports had a setup on Radio Row last week. And because there was no shortage of content, I've tried to spend the first couple days this week when not drugged up on all the meds that are in me, trying to get myself back to full form, catching up on what I may have missed. And one of those conversations was with the guys at Yahoo Sports, Nate Tice and Matt Harmon. I know we've used some of Matt's stuff over the years when it comes to his wide receiver coverage.
Reception perception.
It's pretty darn good. But I got a good kick out of as we approach draft season. Free agency is first. Expiring contracts, all that good stuff is first. Franchise tag window, that's first. But the draft is right around the corner, and you've seen a big uptick in coverage since the Super Bowl came and went. And this is what the guys are talking about, Sarah, on the national side of things, the tendencies that are attached. And it's not just a narrative. These are legitimate team-building tendencies that the Ravens have gone with over the years at one specific position, and it's getting their attention.
Injection. Also, stop mocking small receivers to the Ravens.
Like enough already.
Enough. They need, like Lamar needs a big body. Yes. Oh. Oh yeah. Did you hear his Denzel Boston receiver comparison?
What? So there are times he reminds me of Mike Evans.
He said it's the closest thing to Mike Evans that we've ever seen, period, in the history of time.
That was the exact words I used. No, not exactly. Okay. But yeah, no, that's the type of receiver I think that they need, though, is a guy with size that can actually play outside.
This is a Denzel Boston pod.
They should try getting the big receiver before they turn 35. Like that's that would be a nice thing change for the Ravens.
They always get it's like, oh, DeAndre Hopkins at the end of the road.
Okay, Sarah.
They know they're Ravens.
Pulse? You think they got a good pulse for what's going on with the Ravens? And of course, this comes in the aftermath of several mock drafts linking Mekhi Lemon, the talented 5'11", $195 USC wide receiver, to the Ravens, right? Mel Kiper and Field Yates certainly have had conversations about that, and this is no disrespect at all to Mekhi. His yards after the catch and shiftiness and hands and slot receiver mentality is going to make one team pretty happy to have him. But is that the answer for the Ravens? Lamar has never had the luxury of a young, in his prime, big body, true X wide receiver. Des Bryant didn't represent that. DeAndre Hopkins, future Hall of Famer, didn't represent that at this point. And who knows? DeAndre might be back. I don't know. But at their point in their careers when they were in Baltimore, and Miles Boykin, who just retired, on paper, he could have been that guy. He wasn't. Lamar has never had that guy with the Ravens, and put me in the bucket of really wondering what this offense looks like, what Lamar's able to do both off schedule and on schedule with a 50-50 non-tight end winning guy on the outside.
Well, what's interesting, Bobby, is that I think they were treating Isaiah Likely a little bit like that guy. And remember, and it does make a huge difference when, again, that second Steelers game, when Lamar was helping bring the offense back down the field for the Tyler Loop setup, he threw on 4th and 7 a super high ball, and Isaiah Likely went up, climbed the ladder with his long arms, and came down with that ball. Like, that is what a big body will do. Now, to their point, they wanted at the wide receiver position. Isaiah is a tight end. Who could fill that, by the way, that role? It's who Derrick Henry's been pounding the desk for, and that's A.J. Brown. He's not 35 yet.
How old's AJ?
AJ is 28, and he's 6'1", 226.
Yeah,
it's not like a 6'3" kind of guy, but 6'1", 226, age 28. King Henry wants him.
He would qualify measurables wise.
I just don't think the Philadelphia Eagles, I cannot imagine the Philadelphia Eagles getting out of that. If they were to trade him, Bobby, I think it's something like $45 million in dead money. It would make sense on the Ravens side. But is Howie really going to eat that much dead space?
Is Philadelphia that distraught about the level of dysfunction seemingly from the outside looking in that was heavily reported within their offense that would be solved overnight by dealing him and eating all that money? Would it be solved overnight? Was he the only culprit? Don't know.
Here's my other question that we just don't know the answer to. So, like, somebody like, whatever, Hollywood Brown or I don't know, even Hopkins, he was nice about it, but he didn't like that he didn't get the ball very much. Bateman, I'm sure, wants the ball. Zay wants the ball. Hollywood Brown asked for a trade because he wasn't getting the ball. And it just seemed like for years, it was just like, why would anybody want to come here? Because the offense is designed to where it's like more run first, and you really are using tight ends mostly and Zay. But I don't know what the offense is going to look like now. Like John, even though he kept getting in different offensive coordinators, and it did look different, obviously, from Greg Roman to Monken, but still, John's influence was over it all. I don't know what the offense is going to look like with Jesse Minter and Declan Doyle. Like, would it be smart? Like, is it finally a time where like EDC could justify paying for a wide receiver? Because if you paid for him in the past, it's like wasted dollars because you're really not getting the ball out to them. And so under Declan Doyle and under Jesse Minter, will that change? That's my question. Would you be like, yeah, we'll spend there now because we're going to use them in this offensive system?
A lot of people are asking that question. You can't blame them. More super chats have come in.
Okay.
And we left off with my Timber Shivered, who will have more in the coming moments here. Yeah. Joseph Burton says, bringing it back up, #77 on the defensive line. He wants Daniel to shift phases.
Joseph, you want to re-sign Daniel? Is that what you're saying?
He wants him rushing the passer. He wants him filling in for Nnamdi. Is he mean enough to be on that defensive line? I don't know. No disrespect to him, but I think we were all kind of left wanting that mean streak to come out. Daniel, where's it at? My Timber Shivered for you.
You got to be mean on defense. Timber's back. He says Joe wasn't terrible, so he's following up on us saying that he made a lot of good points, but I didn't agree with like the Joe line because they won a Super Bowl together. He said Joe wasn't terrible and he had one of the greatest postseason runs in history, but he was wildly inconsistent because John couldn't keep the one OC that Joe developed under. He needs yes men instead. Well, he won the Super Bowl when John fired Cameron, and then he put in Jim Caldwell. Kubiak, are you referring to Kubiak? Because Kubiak did help him develop, but Kubiak got a head coaching job. There's nothing that John or any other coach could do about that. Like if somebody's an offensive coordinator and then they get not only offered a head coaching job, but a head coaching job at an organization that you played quarterback for and coached there before. Like what was John supposed to do about that? I don't know. Is he referring to Kubiak?
Let us know.
The one OC?
Let us know.
Sorry, Timber.
Thank you for yet another super chat. Dream says Lamar needs his Anquan Bolden, who of course was a signature part of Joe's offense in that legendary playoff run that Timber was referencing. Tony Williams has gifted us a super chat today. Thanks, Tony, for being here, brother.
Thank you, Tony.
And from the tropics in St. Croix, Wildlife Wale is with us. Sarah?
He says, I don't know why EDC doesn't see the value of these big body wide receivers. Again, we took Hollywood over DK. Ooh, I was just about to say, but then that last line takes it away from me. I was just about to say, I think EDC values it, but he just hasn't been able to get a good one. Like usually they're gone by the time they pick, but yep, DK was there.
Oh, yes, he was. Will he be running it back? Well, he definitely will be because he's under contract, but will he and Aaron Rodgers be running it back in Pittsburgh? Sure looks like it. My Timber Shivered says he's another one. He's lucky. If Joe doesn't show up in 2012 and Lamar doesn't revolutionize football, he's gone. If we ordered a cargo plane of arrogant underperformers and got him, we would have got our money's worth. Oh my, this is just, we just got to let him rip right now. He's just on he's on one. He's on one. He, like John, is puffing his chest out today and has some things to get off his chest.
Yes.
Doesn't he?
Do it.
Yes, he does.
I don't know what this is.
Jim Zorn?
Jim Zorn. I don't know.
Is that who you're referring to? This was well before my time, but I'm pretty sure he was on John's staff, wasn't he? I think he was. Jim was the quarterback's coach for the Ravens in 2010.
Okay.
So not a play caller.
Okay, so he's saying that Jim Zorn is the guy that developed him.
Guess that's who he's giving him credit. And then we'll see. Where did Jim go after that? Jim got
went
the
Kansas
same role.
City, same role elsewhere. Okay.
But of course, Jim had a small, brief stint as a head coach with the then Redskins from 08 to 09. So to be brought in the following year after he was let go, that was kind of a big get at the time.
Yeah, but again, Zorn left in 2010 and they won the Super. Then they went to the AFC Championship game the next year. Phenomenal. Joe outplayed Brady, but Cundiff and Lee Evans did their thing. And then in 2012, they won the Super Bowl. So I don't know. Listen, Timber, there's so many good points you're making on Harbaugh. This one I'm not with you on. I like that you're trying though.
I think he's got some things to say.
He's got things to say. So does Tony with the $10 super chat. He says, other than QB, which of our position groups is rated in the top 5 of the league? I feel we have some overrated players. I think just having Kyle Hamilton alone puts the safeties there. Starks is going to keep coming up, I think. Top 5 positions. Running back?
Quarterback, running back, safety.
Maybe tight end. Maybe tight end last year. Not necessarily. Obviously, this year they've got work to do.
Not cornerback, not linebacker, nothing along the defensive line.
Actually, I would say tight end in 2024 because Likely was hurt last year.
I was going to rip off tight end as my first one, but there's so much change to your point that I just got to see what that group looks like. So I'll comfortably say quarterback, running back, and safety.
Okay. Okay.
But because Kyle is not often the traditional safety, they got work to do in that department, as you mentioned, in order for them to truly fortify themselves as a top 5 unit.
Chat is saying center. I was thinking whole offensive line. I usually put when you say, but yes, if you single out center, yes, which is why I've been pounding the table that the Ravens sign Linderbaum to an extension.
You and me both. We were on the same, we didn't even think about that because it was a collective ranking.
Yeah, I was thinking all of offensive line.
Yep.
Yep.
Appreciate you, Tony. Appreciate all you guys for being with us today.
Got a couple more quick hits here, brother.
Sure.
Let's do the patrons first, though. Go ahead.
Yeah, let's give these guys some love. Blake Yaspa, No Way DJ. Appreciate you guys for all the support that you give us on a monthly basis through Patreon. This is your monthly shout out. Thank you guys. I hope you're having a wonderful month of February here, start to off season and everything else that we got coming up for you inside the vault. It's patreon.com/Ravens Vault podcast. If you're interested in learning more about what we're offering over there, you can also become a channel member by clicking on the link that we have pinned in today's live chat. Why don't you bring us home?
Yeah. So the 3 specialists on special teams, I thought this was kind of fun. The team put out a little clip of them talking about Anthony Levine and how he has a wire loose in his head in the best way possible. Just another look at your new special teams coordinator, who you already know since Anthony has been in Baltimore for quite some time.
Who are that intense and just want to play football that bad.
It's contagious to everybody else around him.
I mean, Anthony Levine has a big part in that, I really do think, because he also had a wire loose when he played and still does as a coach in the best way possible.
Be light. I can hear you. I don't need to hear you. You sound like Shrek. You sound like Shrek. Shrek. You didn't sound like Shrek. Now you see that? Use it. Oh, I don't know. Yes, sir. Oh, yes, sir.
He knows he think you don't know he got a wire loose?
I played with him for 2 years. He definitely has a wire loose.
Yeah. Meet me at the ball. Let's go.
Oof.
But the intensity, I guess.
See him?
He out of there. Yeah.
Knock
back.
Keandre does remind me of him.
The intensity brings to every single meeting. How are those guys not going to be how they are? Levine leaves them no choice. No.
Bobby, to go on special teams the way they showed that one clip, when you're a gunner on special teams, and you are running as fast as you possibly can, 20 plus miles per hour, and you just willingly throw your body in there the way he did, I do think you have to have a little bit of a wire loose, because most people's natural reactions is like, this isn't what human beings should be doing. Like, my body should not be running into this brick wall full steam ahead. And so, but just a lot of fun clips there. He comes up to a player, makes him pick up his arm, points to his bicep. He's like, you see that? Use it, use your muscle. And just, he loves special teams. He's got a lot of passion for it. It obviously worked for him in his playing days. I really hope it translates as a coach.
He had a wire loose with me a time or two in the locker room.
Oh,
I had
tell us about that.
A good little exchange back in the day during radio access days. I can't remember the specific question that I asked, but towards the latter half of his career, he was primarily a special teamer. Bless you. Mute feature, something else, isn't it?
Yeah, it works. Nobody would have known.
He was primarily a special teamer, but he was an undrafted safety. And, at times when he would get snaps on the defensive side of the ball towards the end, he was playing a little bit of both. Like, it wasn't strictly safety. And so whatever question I asked put him in a box of whatever position that I was aiming to learn about. Again, it was so long ago that I can't remember the premise of the question, but he did not like it. He did not appreciate it. And we had a little good back and forth about it. And I just remember thinking, well, I guess I won't be in that media scrum in the coming days. I won't be all that motivated to, because he wasn't willing to even. I thought it was a fair question at the time, but
what'd you ask him?
No, literally, it was something related to. It was a genuine question, but I put him in a box, and his role, I think, in his mind, was greater than what I was summarizing it to be, and he took offense to it. That's what it was.
Okay.
So
you recognize you put him in a box. Sometimes when you do that, people start swinging.
I think he was doing what Marlon had done earlier on at that time. Like, I don't know you. You're new, clearly, and I'm gonna absolutely Greg Popovich you right now. Like that was my interpretation of it. And hey, co-cap, you do you. You're right, Sarah. He's got special teams expertise.
Mm-hmm.
And the Ravens are banking on that because it's been a group that has been underperformed for years running now. So, and he got to look elsewhere. Tampa brought him in for a special teams coordinator opening, and they went in a different direction. So, anyway, appreciate you guys for being with us today. You and I will be back tomorrow to finish up the week. And as always, we thank you for spending some time with us on this Thursday. If you could like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell. Consider becoming a channel member or a gift-giving membership this offseason. For Sarah, I'm Bobby, signing off. Vaultrons, as always, thanks for spending some time with us here inside.